In this video series, I'm taking a close look at all of the different Opto node packages for Node-RED. This video specifically is covering the PAC Control node package. So we are going to be communicating with our strategy running on this device, and also running on this device is Node-RED. So let's dive in. The first thing we'll need to do to get to Node-RED is log in. So I'll provide my credentials, username and password, and sign in. And here you can see on my first flow, I do already have all the nodes installed and configured. We covered that in a previous video, and today I'm just going to be focused on these PAC Control nodes. They are set up with a localhost device configuration because I am running Node-RED on the same hardware as the PAC Control strategy, and we're going to be able to read in and write to anything we need in the strategy right here from Node-RED. So before we have a look at the actual nodes, let's see what's in our strategy. We can see here for my control engine Epic Dev, I do have this in debug mode. I am running this strategy, and I have a couple of variables set up. I have numeric variables like counter, flag, and a test integer, as well as a string variable, test string. But you should know that you can also work with your tables in your strategy as well. We're just going pretty bare bones just to show how it works. And finally, I do have my I/O units, my Groove I/O set up, and that is going to have my modules and channels configured here with different names. So I have this top button, the bottom button, I have the ring LED here, as well as the alert buzzer, and the different panel lights, red, green, and blue. Finally, I have my temperature probe that's plugged in, and this potentiometer. We're going to be working with a couple of these today. So that's where everything is over here in the strategy. Now, back in Node-RED, we have ways to access a lot of this. So right here at the top, we can have a look at the different data types that are available. Here, this one is set to strategy details. That's going to tell me about the PAC Control strategy that's running on my controller right now. We also have the option to read in device details about the hardware, my different tables, those variables we were just looking at, as well as the analog and digital inputs and outputs. So let's read in these strategy details to get started. It is going to be writing to message.payload, but we could set it to a custom property if needed. So go ahead and select done. I'll inject on this node, read the strategies, and then view them over here in the debug pane in the right hand side. You'll also note that when I do inject into this PAC Control read node, I don't actually need to inject anything. It doesn't require any input. So this inject node is simply just sending an empty message into this node so that it gets triggered to output whatever it reads. Just something to be aware of. With that said, I'll inject. It's going to read the strategy details, and here we go. We can see that the strategy name I'm running is example, the date it was created, as well as the time, and right now I'm not running any charts, so that's spitting back essentially 0. So we're easily able to read our strategy details. Now let's read in that test integer, and we can bring that open over here in PAC Control, and we'll just bring open test int. You can see it's the value 22 in the strategy. So when I inject and read it here, there we go, we just get the number 22 on message.payload. We just configured it to be an int32 variable data type, put in the tag name as it's configured in PAC Control in our strategy, and it's as simple as that to read it out from our localhost configuration here. Now let's check out this test string. Again, we'll bring it open in PAC Control. If I double click it, you can see it's currently saying hello from PAC Control. That's the value it's set to. So if I were to read that, there we go, hello from PAC Control. But now what about writing? We have a separate node for that you can see down here in the palette. We do have our PAC read, and we also have PAC write. So let's write to that string. So I have an inject here, and it has the message.payload set to hello from Node-RED. I'm going to provide that into the write node, and if I double click that, you can see it's writing to the test variable test string, and it's going to put the value from message.payload into that test string. So we're going to overwrite this hello from PAC Control with hello from Node-RED. So we'll inject that. You'll see it's written. We can see it here in the debug pane. And if I bring open my strategy, there we go, hello from Node-RED. And it does this very quickly. So we're easily able to read and write our variables that we configure in our strategy, but we can also control our I/O. So let's try writing to a digital point. You can see down here I have this panel light red, and that's going to light up this clear panel with a red light. So let's come back into Node-RED. You can see that, we have red and blue and green. We're going to be working with blue. It's just set to a digital output type. We're writing to that, and the value is coming in again as message.payload. This is configurable, or you can set it to be a static value. So anything that triggers the node is going to send whatever value you put here. We're going to be reading in message.payload, and message.payload is just set to the Boolean true or false. So let's go ahead and inject true. You can see right away the light turns on, the blue light, and we can also send false if we just select this drop down, switch it to false, and inject now. There we go, it turns off. So it's really easy to read and write both your strategy variables as well as your strategy I/O. So now let's read in some of that I/O. We have this potentiometer here, and if we bring that open in PAC Control, just double click it, we can see that it's currently the value 28,000. As I increase it, it goes up to 10,000. So let's read that into Node-RED. If I inject once, you can see it reads the potentiometer value. It is around 9,000. If I turn it down and inject again, there we go, it's down to 5,000, and all the way down to just 493. But you don't want to have to click inject every time you want an update on what this potentiometer value is. So to fix that, what we can do is just double click this inject node, and we're going to have it repeat every second and read that value. Now I'll click done, we'll clear up the debug pane and deploy. And now you can see it's going to check it, and there we go, we get the updates, it's down at 0, and as I increase it, we'll see the value increasing over here in the debug pane. When I let it rest, we'll just get very similar values. There's some slight fluctuation just from the potentiometer itself, but we're getting these constant stream of messages once every second. But it's very easy to reduce that with a simple deadband. So I'm just going to hold Control and click on this wire, and I'm going to be adding a filter node. This filter node, or report by exception node, I can just drop in here. You can see it's wired in. And I'm going to be configuring this to, instead of block unless value changes at all, because you can see it is changing a small amount, I can say only block the value if the change is greater than or equal to some value. So we'll see if the value changes by, let's say, just 10. We're going to output this we're going to be checking this message.payload value that we're reading in, this message.payload number, and unless it changes by an input value of 10, it's going to block the message. So we'll go ahead and select done. We can deploy, we'll clear up the debug pane, and you can see suddenly it's gone quiet even though we're injecting once every second. Now, if I were to decrease it, you'll see it passes that deadband requirement. We get a couple of messages as it gets all of those changes by 10, and then it quiets down right away. So even though we're scanning this at once a second, we don't get a message every single second. So this is a great way to check values, especially analog values for changes, without outputting a message every single time you check it. So using a deadband, using our I/O, and using our strategy, as well as these PAC nodes, we can easily interact with everything in our strategy from variables to I/O quickly and easily, and especially easily when you're running it localhost on the device, like I am with Node-RED running on this Groove Epic. So this is a great tool, and you should be aware of how to use it. And if you have any questions, you can come over to our forums at forums.opto22.com and check out our developer site at developer.opto22.com. And we'll have all of this linked in the description below. I hope you found this video helpful, and keep an eye out for the other videos we have in this series that goes over all the different Node-RED packages that you can get that Opto has contributed. Thanks for watching.